7 hours of commercial-free football.
You got to say it. Well, we're going to be hitting you with the spice today. We're throwing out some of our most reasonable thoughts out the door, and we're going to be giving you guys our spiciest, bold predictions for fantasy football in 2023. And we're also going to be joined by Scott Hanson. Yeah, you heard that right. Scott Hanson of NFL Network and NFL RedZone, the host that you get to see for 7 straight hours of commercial-free football every Sunday.
Alfredo, don't even try to say 7 hours. It just doesn't sound the same coming out of your
I'm not
mouth.
allowed to,
I don't even think
it's a phrase.
It's trademarked by him. Like, if it's not coming out of his mouth, we can't even try to say it.
I feel like you have to give it more oomph. It's 7 hours. Like there's a lot of heart that goes into it. I don't have nearly as much. But Scott Hanson's going to be here, so stick around for that. Dave, let's start off with these bold predictions. And we're going to get it's like the Taco Bell sauces. We're going to go mild, medium, spicy instead of fire. But, the trademarked, whatever. Dave, give us your mild, bold prediction here.
Well, first of all, I want to say that Taco Bell also has this Diablo sauce now. I don't know. It's supposed to be I like spicy, but this is
I haven't eaten Taco Bell in
disgusting.
years.
Yeah, you're probably a smarter man than I for avoiding that. But my mild prediction is that Amon-Ra St.Brown will finish as the overall wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Now, I've talked about Amon-Ra St.Brown a lot this offseason, and when talking about him, I was saying that he should be going as 106 off the board. But now with Cooper Kupp down and Travis Kelce hyperextending his knee, you might be looking at Amon-Ra St.Brown as like the 4th guy off the board, realistically. And the lucky thing is, if you were drafting him, you probably got him at the tail end of the 1st, early 2nd round. But this guy, last year when he was healthy, he was giving us 19.7 fantasy points per game, which would have been good for wide receiver 5 in PPR scoring. And he did that without having a very important skill set in his bag of tricks. He cannot win deep. I mean, it was something that he really struggled with last year. So when I look at Amon-Ra St.Brown, what I see is a lot of early career Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was great at the short and intermediate routes. He was good at getting yards after the catch. He was great at beating zone coverage, but he struggled at press coverage and he struggled to win deep. We saw it very, very little at the end of last year where Amon-Ra St.Brown was able to win deep. It's something that they have apparently and reportedly focused on a lot in training camp this year as well. So if he is able to add that to his game, he will go from being that really reliable 18 to 20 point per game guy into what we saw Cooper Kupp develop into in 2021 and 2022, where he's consistently giving you 25 points per game. I think Amon-Ra St.Brown, knowing the hard worker that he is, can add that skill set to his bag of tricks this year and elevate himself into that elite possible number 1 overall wide receiver tier.
Well, if you're enjoying the spice so far, give this video a quick like. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel because guess what? NFL season's here. We're not just doing the 2 shows a week anymore. We are coming to you guys every day, Monday through Thursday here on YouTube, and then actually Monday through Friday on audio. If you're listening to the podcast, which that link is in the description down below. And then every Sunday morning, we are going to be with you guys, bringing you a live Q&A for your start sit questions that you have for fantasy football, where it's going to be me and Dave and Adam Hutchison, our medical expert here on staff. And then we've got another show before that. So you're going to have maybe not 7 hours of commercial free live start sit, but you're going to get about a good hour and a half of very mediocre fantasy football advice. So you're going to want to subscribe to the channel for that. Dave, I've got my mild prediction. And I want to ask this personal. Do you like spicy food, Dave? Are you a mild guy?
Food. No,
yes.
I love spicy food.
Let's go. Wait, what's the favorite spicy food? Because there's varying levels, like different cultures. What's the favorite spicy food?
Let me just put it this way. The entire door of my refrigerator, every single shelf is full of different hot sauces. I've got about 80 hot sauces in my fridge right now. So I don't know if that answers the question what my favorite is, but I love spice. Anytime my wife travels for work, that is like her thing. Whatever town she is, she picks up a local hot sauce for me. We were just in Hawaii, actually, met this woman who started her own hot sauce company and bought every single bottle she had, came home with 8 different hot sauces. So yeah, I love spice.
Dude, okay, so that means when I go to Denver and visit you, or excuse me, not Denver, Colorado, but when I go to Colorado, we're getting some spicy food, man.
Absolutely.
Let's return back here, though. It's these mild, bold predictions that we have. And my sort of mild, like it's not that crazy, is that Bijan Robinson is going to finish as the RB1 in fantasy. And I mean, there's just a lot of things that kind of point to it. And remember, like I'm going to give some logic here, but this is not the episode for logic. This is the episode where we're being bold on purpose. And Bijan's the highest paid running back in the league for this season. There's a good chance he's going to get used a lot. We've seen that highly drafted running backs get used. We saw Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott finish as top 2 running backs in fantasy. And I believe it was Saquon Barkley who finished as the RB1 in his rookie season. And Bijan Robinson, all throughout the draft process, was compared to Saquon Barkley, and the fact that he might even be better. Now he goes to this team, the Atlanta Falcons, that has a good run blocking offensive line, a coach that absolutely loves to run the football, whether they are winning or losing, it doesn't really matter. This is just the perfect situation for him. Remember, this was the Atlanta Falcons that had the most rushing attempts in the league last year, with a converted wide receiver who was like 34 years old, and Tyler Algier, who was a 5th round rookie selection last year. Now you go and you put potentially one of the most talented players in the league, and definitely I would say probably most talented rookie in the league right now, Bijan Robinson, into that situation. Yeah, there's going to be high volume. There's going to be plenty of scoring opportunities because I think that he's going to be the one that's creating that. And I think that with their passing weapons that they have there, it's going to open up the field a bit. And remember, this is one of the easiest divisions in football. It's about the Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers, the Bucks. There's going to be some bad defense all over. So Bijan Robinson, I think, is my mild, bold prediction to finish as the RB1 this season, Dave.
And see, these might sound crazy to some people, but we're just betting on 2 very talented players to be the most talented at their position. Nothing too spicy about that. Mild. Let's kick it up a notch.
Yeah, let's go. We're gonna go now to the medium spice. I think that's not bad. I think these are just about right. Dave, give me your medium bold prediction. This one I actually kind of like.
Yeah, I'm starting to sweat a little bit. It's getting a little warm in here, but not quite all the way up yet. So all off season, everybody has seemingly planted their flag on which Eagles running back they think is going to be the guy. And I very much so was a Rashaad Penny truther,
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. What do you mean other people? Other people is Dave. Dave is other people. You're people.
I am people. And I very much so, invested my chips in Rashaad Penny, and my wallet was invested heavily in Rashaad Penny as well. Drafted him in a bunch of teams, had him all over my best ball leagues. And I just don't think there's going to be a winner to this debate. You got some people saying DeAndre Swift is the guy. You got some people saying Rashaad Penny's going to be the guy. Some people are saying it's Kenneth Gainwell. You got, these scorned scorned Giants fans who thinks Boston Scott can just go for 2 touchdowns every single week. But my bold prediction is that none of these guys are going to finish top 24 at their position. Lots of really talented running backs, and it's a team that we know loves to run the snot out of the ball. Last year, they were one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, but Jalen Hurts is going to get his. They're going to run some fun end arounds and whatnot with A.J. Brown. They're going to bring Kenneth Gainwell in on situational plays. They're going to ride the hot hand between DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott and Rashaad Penny. I think this is going to be such a hard to predict backfield on a week-to-week basis that, sure, maybe one of these guys does end the season with 800 yards and 8 touchdowns or something like that. But I am not confident plugging any of these guys into my lineup, whether it's week 1. I don't think come week 10, I'm going to be confident. So I guess that's the caveat here is if these guys stay healthy, none of them are going to finish top 24. Of course, an injury to Rashaad Penny and DeAndre Swift could open up the door for Kenneth Gainwell. But as long as all 4 of these guys are healthy, good luck trying to figure out who the guy is going to be on a week-to-week basis.
By the way, I want to say JV football coaches everywhere just rejoiced hearing you say run the snot out of the ball, because that's about like half of the United States JV playbook there. Good.
If Coach Charters from Hinsdale South High School is watching this, that was actually straight from him. Like I remember him yelling that at us during summer doubles. So Coach Charters, if you're watching, I remember.
You're finally getting the approval from your old JV coach. That's what it's all about here on this show. All right, let me give you my medium bold prediction here. This is a guy I've been talking about for quite a bit of time here at the tight end position, and it's Jake Ferguson. And I am predicting that Jake Ferguson finishes as a top 8 fantasy tight end. Now, on the surface, that might seem even more bold. That seems a little spicier than medium. But it's really not that crazy. Okay. The number 10 tight end last season was Dalton Schultz, who missed 2 games and had 2 zeros in games that he was active for. So let's say that he actually missed 4 games, technically, still finished as the tight end 10. Now, there's rumors that the Dallas Cowboys may be running a bit more, but their offense, at least, Dave, I don't know, you tell me, the roster says otherwise. They've added Brandon Cooks. They didn't really go out and try to get any other running backs. Their lead running back on the roster, Tony Pollard, is a guy who specializes in the receiving game.
I don't mean to cut you off, Alfredo, but I think people do think that they're going to run the ball more because Mike McCarthy said they want to run the ball more. But we can just look back at historical trends. When Mike McCarthy was a play caller in Green Bay, they passed the ball at a higher rate than almost any other team. So we are holding on to this like little nugget of coach speak from February or March or whenever he said that, when the reality is Mike McCarthy wants to throw.
Yeah, coaches never say things that they don't mean to the media. They always tell the truth, and they always give us exactly what we want to hear, right? Of course. Yeah? No?
Yeah, of course.
The Dallas Cowboys, this is a team that really likes, and Dak Prescott, the quarterback, really likes to target the tight end. He's done so heavily for the past few years. You go back and you look at Dalton Schultz over the last 3 seasons, he's averaged 94 targets and 5.5 touchdowns. A guy with that kind of numbers would have been the tight end 7 last year. So it's not all that out of the realm of possibility that Jake Ferguson is a top 8 fantasy tight end. It seems like 90 targets is about that magic number for tight ends to finish in that top 8 area. Only 2 tight ends had less than that, and that's because they had 7 or more touchdowns. So seeing that 90 targets is within the realm of possibility for him. And this is a guy who's like, I don't know, he's still going as tight end 16 or something off the draft board. You really don't have to invest heavily in him. I kind of really love this one. I'm going to pat myself on the back for this. I can't wait for it to come true.
And I'm just going to say, since we're throwing all logic out the window on this show, he got the George Kittle stamp of approval. When they asked him who looked good at tight end university, he said, keep an eye on Jake Ferguson. So, hey, if he's got George Kittle's stamp of approval, that's enough for me to go out and draft him.
All right. Well, before we move on here, I want to let you guys know draft season's over. We are into the thick of it. We are here for week 1. We are worried about who we're starting and sitting in our lineups. And guess what? You can head on over to footballguys.com and check out our weekly rankings. They are 100% free. Okay, they're featuring myself and Dave and various other analysts and projectors that we have here at Football Guys, and you're able to sort through those. Now, if you are a subscriber to Football Guys, I'm talking even just a pro subscription, you can actually import your leagues and you can see where the players on your roster rank in comparison to others. And it's going to give you recommendations based on the scoring settings for your leagues. It is a phenomenal tool that we have. Something that, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, Football Guys is the most affordable fantasy football subscription in the entire industry. So we've got that link for you in the description down below. Go check it out. Get ready for week 1 because the football season is finally here.
And I was just looking this morning, Alfredo, you and I, we both got our week 1 rankings up. I got to say, it was a breath of fresh air all year. We've been talking about season-long outlooks and all that, and then sitting down and going through those week 1 projections, going through week 1 rankings, trying to play in our heads how matchups are going to work out. I've had a fun couple of days really making that switch into weekly football.
Yeah, I feel like we needed this. There's only so much you can talk about, like which players to draft and keep prognosticating. Let's just get to the action. And speaking of that, Dave, let's get to our final bold predictions here. These are our spiciest ones, our hottest bold predictions. Let's hear it from you.
So I've touted this guy a lot this offseason. I am a big fan of Zach Charbonnet. And since we are trying to go as spicy as possible, I am ready to say it. Zach Charbonnet is going to outscore Kenneth Walker this year. I know. For anyone listening on audio, Alfredo's over here rolling his eyes. He's furious. He's livid. He's a big Kenneth Walker guy. But
which arm hurts when you're having a heart attack?
No, I love Kenneth Walker, but when you look at Zach Charbonnet's profile, this is just the guy that just gobbles up fantasy points. He had a 14.5% target share in college, which puts him in the 93rd percentile. We know Kenneth Walker doesn't catch a lot of passes. When you look at the size, he's 6 foot, 214 pounds, which means he might get a lot of that goal line work. So I can see a scenario where Kenneth Walker out-touches Zach Charbonnet maybe 2-1. But because Zach Charbonnet is going to be getting the passing down work in the 2-minute drill and on third downs and late in the games, and if he ends up taking that goal line work as well, it doesn't matter how many touches Kenneth Walker is getting because he is going to be getting those low-calorie touches. All of the high-value touches could go Zach Charbonnet's way. This guy's been one of my favorite targets throughout the entire offseason. You're getting him in round 14 a couple of months ago. He's slowly been creeping up. You got to get him in the 9th round now as we got closer to the season. but he has an elite profile, and the Seahawks have big plans for him. I don't want to lean too much on the draft capital argument, but you don't spend a second-round pick on a running back to have him sit behind another guy and wait for an injury. He's going to be playing week 1, and there's a chance that he gets all of the high-value touches in this high-powered Seattle offense. So there it is. My boldest prediction that I say for 2 days before kickoff, Zach Charbonnet outscoring Kenneth Walker.
And you know what? I will say this, right? Like I love Kenneth Walker's game, and I think that he's going to be much better than many have predicted for this season. And I'm not alone in that either. But I do think it is good process to acknowledge that Zach Charbonnet is going to be getting touches that are valued a bit more. I think there are still some questions. Obviously, like, we always talk about coach speak. There's some questions like Zach Charbonnet was recently the number 3 running back on the depth chart, which was weird. I don't believe that for a second.
So was Bijan Robinson a couple
of
weeks ago.
Right. So like the timing of it is weird right here before the season, but I think that it's good process to at least have that in your back pocket to know this is something that can happen. Like you have to be willing to be wrong about things. And I'm 100% willing to be wrong one way or the other. I know that like for a lot of my teams, I've tried to diversify, make sure I've got a little bit of Zach Charbonnet and I still have plenty of Ken Walker on various other teams. But yeah, this is a situation that it could really play out in favor of Zach Charbonnet. So it pains me to say it, but yeah, Dave, it's not a bad, bold prediction.
So let's make sure, just for continuity's sake, because we're going to be talking about these guys a lot throughout the offseason. Is it Ken, Kenneth, Kenny? What does Mr. Walker want to go by?
Kenjamin. Kenjamin. That's his government name, Kenjamin Walker. No, he prefers to go by Ken. Ken Walker the third.
It's still Kenneth. All right, Ken. We going with Ken. Moving forward now.
He's just Ken.
I know Ken Walker was one of your guys, and looking at these last 2 spicy takes, I took a peek at the show sheet. I think that you just like tried to rebut me. Like I hurt you with my Kenneth Walker take, and I'm pretty sure that you are just trying to hurt me with your spicy take here. So just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. Alfredo, what's your final spicy take?
All right, let's do it. Dave, I'm sorry, but your Bears are in for more trauma, and you're going to continue to see a Packers quarterback be really, really good in the NFC North, because my spiciest bold prediction here is that Jordan Love will score more fantasy points than Aaron Rodgers this season. And I think there is just a big hype train surrounding the New York Jets right now. And there's, the hard knocks bump that comes with everything. There's the big free agent signing. It's a big market. And we know that a lot of like the big networks that cover football really want to push the big markets. And so everything little by little, that narrative has kept rising and rising and rising, that Aaron Rodgers is, going to be the guy that returns to MVP form. And he's really, not that far removed from an MVP season. And listen, it may happen, right? It's one of those things that I'm saying, like, willing to be wrong. But there's also a pretty good shot that he might be done, and that we really don't know the identity of this New York Jets offense. This defense could be really good and stop them from having to throw a whole lot or be in a lot of shootouts. Aaron Rodgers is notorious for running a very slow offense. They've got 2 very talented running backs. That offensive line is not very good. They may want to protect Aaron Rodgers as much as possible. And so there are a lot of things that could be factors here for Aaron Rodgers not performing well. But for me, on the other side, Jordan Love, he's got all these weapons around him. We're finally going to see a quarterback that is actually running and I think I got it right this time, Matt LaFleur offense here for the Green Bay Packers. I did it. David, that is what we call growth. That's growth right there. Look at that. I got the name right. So he'll actually run the Matt LaFleur offense. It should move faster without Aaron Rodgers. And, once again, just like I mentioned with the Atlanta Falcons, this is an awful division for defense. And yes, before we got Bears and Lions fans hopping in the comments, like, I get it.
I'm a Bears fan, and I will cede that this division has some terrible defenses in it.
I get it. Like, they think that their defenses have improved. We'll see. Improving doesn't mean it's actually good. And I think that's where we're still at. And the Packers have one of the better pass blocking offensive lines in the league still here with Jordan Love. And I think that there's so much value in this unknown, right? And I think that's what a lot of fantasy managers are seeing, is that Jordan Love just simply isn't going up draft boards with his ADP. And this was an interesting stat. And I think this is one of those things that we're going to see bigger plays from this Packers offense. And found this from sharpfootball.com. Aaron Rodgers attempted 40 passes of 30+ yards last year. So the deep ball passes. He completed 6 out of 40 beyond 30 yards with 4 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers was very inefficient throwing the ball deep. This could all be about just a bad connection with these young receivers. It could be that he simply doesn't have it anymore, or he was disinterested. There's a lot of different factors here, but he was one of the worst deep ball passers in the league last year. We've already seen that Jordan Love has the arm strength, has the connection with Christian Watson. And a lot of this is very narrative-y. Like there's not a lot of data to drive it, but that's why it's the spiciest bold prediction, man. And
I mean, we don't have any data. Like Jordan Love hasn't played. He sat on the bench for 4 years.
But we got some really cool highlights from training camp. And it looks good, man. And then you add Christian Watson, you've got Jaden Reed, you got Romeo Doubs, you've got Luke Musgrave, and then they still got a strong running attack. Listen, Jordan Love and the Packers, it could look really good for them this season. And this is going to be one of those teams that we might be thinking like, how did we miss this? How did we not see what they could be?
So, Alfredo, obviously I'm a Bears fan, but I am a terrible Bears fan. Like, I don't look at fandom as being a hateful experience. I like all NFL players. Like, football is fun to watch. I'm not somebody that hates the Packers, and I agree with everything that you're saying here. And this is why Bears fans hate me, because I've been telling people the Packers are going to be a lot better than people realize. You know, everybody is just like praising that Aaron Rodgers is out of the division. And it's like, we did this 15 years ago when Brett Favre left the division and then Aaron Rodgers stepped right in. Now, I'm not saying that Jordan Love is going to be a 15-year starter, perennial, you know, all-pro Hall of Famer. That's not what I'm saying. But he is a good quarterback. And I think that people have just assumed that he's terrible because he didn't start for his first few years. But what we've seen in the preseason, the reports we've had out of camp, I think this is going to be a good offense. And you can go back to episode 2 of this show when we were talking about offenses that we wanted to target for cheap. And the Packers were one of them. And we talked about the ambiguity and the uncertainty and why that opened up a buy low window for pretty much all of these guys. And we were drafting Jordan Love and Aaron Jones and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Luke Musgrave and all of these guys months and months and months ago. And then we saw it all kind of come together in the preseason. So week 1, Bears playing against the Packers, you know, both fan bases, regardless of the outcome, are going to overreact, and it's going to be such a headache.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care, man. Win or lose, I'm just happy football's here.
Oh, you're so right. I'm so happy football's here. We don't have to keep guessing. And yes, I am so down to just overreact horribly next week with you here on camera, on the mic. And, well, you know what? Speaking of the season finally being here, we've got a fantastic guest who is joining us now, Scott Hanson, the host of NFL RedZone for NFL Network. Yes, David. And NFL RedZone now available on NFL Plus and YouTube TV this season. So you've got a ton of ways to watch. Let's bring on Scott Hanson.
Scott, thanks so much for joining us today, man. Excited to talk with you again. We've done this for the last couple of years. And for me, this kind of feels like the start of the NFL season. You know, we talk about off season and season long projections, and week 1 is right around the corner. Now, this is a fantasy football show. We are obsessed with fantasy football. Scott, can I reasonably deduce that you play fantasy football yourself? How many leagues are you in?
You can reasonably deduce that. And good to be with you guys again. We're finally in game week. Finally. You can. In fact, people ask my favorite football team all the time. I grew up in the Detroit area, so the Lions were my team when I was a little kid. But I haven't lived in Detroit in over 20 years. And working for the NFL, it's pretty much all 32 teams. And of course, what I do for a living, I deal with all 32 teams. So I don't have a favorite NFL team per se, but my favorite football team is the Iron Bladders, my fantasy football team. And I have 2 leagues. Which in my mind, and this might be blasphemous for you guys, I have 2 leagues, which in my mind is one too many. I am traditionally a one fantasy. Find yourself some friends, family, colleagues that you just want to beat their brains in fantasy and form one league, because I don't like the rooting conflicts that you get when you're in 4, 5, 6 leagues. Oh, Mahomes to Kelsey. Yay. Oh, no. Oh, yay. Oh, no. Like, right. I don't like that. But I'm in 2 because I do my main NFL league with some heavy hitters in fantasy that know their stuff. And I love competing in that league. Lost in the championship last year, unfortunately. But then my church buddies here in LA, I've got buddies that I've met, and they started a league, and they're like, Scott, we've got to get you in it, you know, with what you do and everything. It was about 6 years ago we started that league. They wanted to kick me out after 2 years because I won the championship back-to-back. My co-owner, Josh Edmond, and I stomped everybody so bad. They were like, oh, you're cheating. You must get information. I'm like, boys, I got the same internet connection that you have. I just know what to do with the information a little bit better than you do. So
you're not getting texts from Schefter and Pelissero. You're not getting texts from these guys in the morning before they hit Twitter. They're not telling you, hey, make sure to pick this guy up.
Yeah. No, they know better. They know better than to ask me. They know that my competition, my competitive juices will I didn't even want to text anyone back about the Kelsey news today when the Kelsey news broke. I got it within like 60 seconds of it being announced. And I'm like, well, everyone's going to hear about this, but I don't need to put it out there until people hear about it the normal way. So yeah, I love the competition.
So Scott, when the NFL season rolls around, honestly, I tend to have a better relationship with you every Sunday than I do with my own wife. I get to spend 7 hours with you every week on the weekend. But I think we don't know what it's like for you behind the scenes. We get to see you on camera, but what's a typical Sunday morning like for you when you get into the studio?
Yeah, well, before I answer that, let me just ask, may I ask your wife's name? What's her name?
Her name is Gabby.
Gabby, and she's not a football fan then, really?
No, the exact opposite.
Okay. Well, then let me just say, Gabby, hey, it's Scott Hanson from NFL RedZone. Sorry, I'm not sorry that you're what we call a RedZone widow for 18 Sundays from September into January.
I love it.
You send her that clip and let me know how she reacts.
I'm just going to play it on a repeat every week.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of couples that do enjoy RedZone and football and fantasy football together. But yeah, we've used the nickname RedZone widows if someone's significant other is like, oh, is that guy still talking on the TV in the living room there for 7 straight hours? Yeah. But okay, so how do you prepare? I prepare every day. I prepare every day like football players prepare to peak for 3 hours on Sunday afternoon. I prepare to peak for 7 hours every Sunday afternoon. And it's all saturating my mind because obviously there's no script for what I'm saying. Yes, there is no script in the NFL for that meme that's getting traction going on right now. I saturate my mind with as many facts, stats, storylines that I could possibly be talking about on Sunday with 11, 12, 13 games in any NFL RedZone show, because I don't know which 2, 3, 5 games are going to have the fantastic finish, the record-breaking performance, the controversial moment, whatever. But I know that 2, 3, or 5 of them will have that. And if I'm prepared for each individual game, whatever presents itself on Sunday, boom, I'm ready to go. So it's like I said, it's statistics, it's storylines, obviously injuries, and anything that I think the audience will find interesting on Sunday, I'm prepared to talk about on Sunday. And sometimes the situation never presents itself, and you never use 80% of the material that you prepared for, but that's okay, because as long as you were prepared for it, you probably come across as authoritative, knowledgeable, and comfortable, and an audience wants to see that in a TV host.
So no matter how much you prepare, though, you've got to have some gaffes here and there. I mean, Alfredo and I, we're no strangers to it. We'll stumble through our words, say the wrong player's name, tweet out the wrong stat or something like that. Try to think back. You've been doing this since 2009, and your audience is huge, tuning in every Sunday. If you make a mistake, I'm sure you're hearing it from everybody on Twitter.
Oh.
What is a memorable mistake that you have made on air?
Oh man, make me blush on your show here. I mean, because
hey,
I don't sleep
people love
at
it.
Night. When I make a bad one, let me mix a sports metaphor here. I want my free throw percentage to be 98, 99%. Okay. Yep. Nobody makes all their free throws. Steph Curry does not make all his free throws. But if you're making high 90s, at least in my business, if I'm disseminating 1,000 facts each RedZone episode and I get 998 of them 100% accurate, I want to have 1,000, but I'm a human being. I can live with that, and yet I will obsess over the 1 or 2 that I mess up. The ones that are always embarrassing is player identification. If I call the guy the wrong name because he swapped his jersey number and I called the other guy the jersey number, or His hairstyle out of the back of his helmet is similar to another player who has that, or like his body shape and body type is similar to the player that I misidentify, because I identify guys not just by the nameplate on the back of their name or even their jersey number, but their style, the way they run, their height, weight, their speed as they're moving. And I'm doing this, all on the fly. There was one with the Buccaneers a couple of years ago where where it was Ronald Jones, I believe, who was running, and he was wearing jersey number 27. And he had grown his hair out, I believe. And so I go, well, LeGarrette Blount with a 5-yard carry. Well, LeGarrette Blount had left the team a while back. He wasn't even on the roster. So I go, and I catch it 5 seconds later, but I said the wrong name. So I go, excuse me. I meant to say Leonard Fournette with the run right there. So I doubled down. I compounded it. And my researcher and my spotter who sit right next to me on laptops to help me out with anything that I might, they both are looking at me like, and I'm like, yeah, okay, Ronald Jones. I was like, well, I could go through the whole roster of backs, and that's super embarrassing because, as you said, I'm not broadcasting to two fan bases. Like a typical play-by-play announcer is primarily broadcasting to two fan bases, and you better have those rosters on lockdown. I got 32 fan bases that are watching. And if I make the slightest mistake, if I say your quarterback threw for 33 touchdowns last year and he actually threw for 34, you would think that I came over and kicked the family dog the way people respond to that. But the reality is reality, and people should expect me to get everything right. And I expect myself to get everything right. I do ask for and hope for a little common human grace to say, okay, Hanson's not a robot. He missed that one. And hopefully I or someone on my staff catch it and we'll correct it if it's a big mistake a minute later, 10 seconds later, 5 minutes later. But yeah, that was one that I still get about.
Hey, like Vince Lombardi said, you strive for excellence, or you strive for perfection and settle for excellence. And I think you do that just well, Scott.
Striving.
Look at you, Dave, working in a Vince Lombardi quote into this show. Nice job. So, Scott, I mean, we all know you're one of the hardest working people in the entire industry. And last year, I got to see that I did a little investigating here. You got to do one of the coolest trips that I've ever been on, which is going to Munich, Germany. And I saw that you got to do that for the NFL games last season. And I got to go to Oktoberfest before, COVID happened. And it was obviously just a totally different time. One of the coolest trips ever, from the food to wearing lederhosen, which I saw you got to do as well. So yeah. I have to ask, what was the coolest experience there in Germany? And is the NFL sending you back or anywhere else in the near future?
Yeah, so I did that. That was 2 summers ago. So
okay.
It's about like 13 months ago, maybe 14 months ago. I went to Germany. I had a few areas in Europe, but for the NFL, it was kind of a goodwill ambassador tour in advance of what was then the first regular season Germany game. Obviously, we played some, we played more, and there'll be more this year, of course, because the Germans ate it up and sold out the tickets in 2 minutes or whatever. And I got to tour Allianz Arena, which was, I believe I'm saying that correct, which had never held anything in their stadium outside of a soccer match. Nothing. Like if Taylor Swift came to Munich, she didn't get this stadium to play in. It was nothing but soccer, and they converted it for American football. So that was kind of big to get that tour. That was fun. I got to go to a beer garden, had one of the greatest pretzels I've ever had in my life, which I know probably sounds cliche to an American audience that, German beer and pretzels. It was outstanding. I even went outside of the city, like a few hours, took a road trip, and went to Castle Neuschwanstein. I think I'm saying that correctly, which was the castle that inspired Walt Disney to make Cinderella's castle in Disneyland look the way that it does. There was a real life castle that a real life king lived in, and that was kind of cool to take a tour of that. But
I got to do that exact same one with my wife. It was really cool. Yeah, except it was under construction. Yeah.
When you drive up to it and it's on like a hillside in the mountains and whatnot, and there's a lake, like a lake that they rerouted water to make it more beautiful. And it's a great tour. If anyone goes over to Germany and is in the Munich area, look into doing that day trip. It was excellent. Yeah. And then of course mixing with the fans. Guys, I'm telling you, the German fans with whom I interacted, knowledgeable. I mean, passionate, but knowledgeable about the sport. They were asking next level questions and stuff. I think it's a little bit like if I have I have EPL soccer fans that are friends of mine here, and I think they're junkies enough. They wake up early in the morning, just like the Germans stay up late at night to watch the end of RedZone or watch Sunday Night Football. My buddies could probably talk soccer with legit European soccer fans that were born and raised with it because they've gotten so into it. That's the way I found the foreign European American football fans. And it was great. It was great to mix with them in Germany. I'm glad to see that the sport is thriving over there and that there's going to be multiple games in Germany this year.
Yeah, the National Football League is becoming the Worldwide Football League today. Well, Scott, we've only got a minute left, so real quickly, hit us with your boldest prediction. Alfredo and I just opened the show talking about our bold predictions for the season. Let the fans know your boldest prediction for the season, and then let them know where they can find you on NFL RedZone.
Okay, boldest prediction. Oh yeah. Okay, what level of bold would be if I say Aaron Rodgers will be a Pro Bowl quarterback this year?
Love it.
Is that bold enough?
Love it. Yeah. After the season he had last year, this year
All-Pro starter or even second-team All-Pro, but he's not the Aaron Rodgers we are going to see this year was not 2022 Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it'll
and
be
it's not just to do
MVP,
with the
a little closer to that.
It has to do with the chip that he has on his shoulder to give a big tall glass of shut up juice to everybody that is hating on him. So I'll say Aaron Rodgers is going to have an excellent season this year.
Well, I know you got to run, Scott. Let everyone know where they can find you this Sunday and what you will be providing them with.
So you can catch me on NFL RedZone. You may have heard of it. And virtually every television provider in the United States has access on a sports tier. Check your local TV provider to see if they have it. And if they don't, NFL Plus is taking NFL RedZone for the first time. So if you have nothing else other than a smart TV and an internet connection, you can get NFL RedZone through NFL Plus. And you can go to NFL.com to find out more on that.
And what'll they be watching?
Oh, it's 7 hours of commercial-free football.
You got to say it.
Appreciate it, man. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Best of luck this season, and we will see you on Sunday.
Sounds good. See you Sunday, guys.